Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig. Look out, he is a Spider Pig. Spider Pig. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig. Look out, he is a Spider Pig. Spider Pig. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's
Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're finally getting to the Miles Morales Venom Carnage mashup that we've been waiting for within Dark Ages. So we're just gonna jump right into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping back in, we just get right into the aftermath of the death of Nick Fury, and even though it's not something that's just lingered upon for any substantial length of time, but given the circumstances in this post-apocalyptic future, he's given a very heartfelt ceremony. And with the way that Peter Parker has been given his narration throughout this series, and while they're here in Portugal, in this brief moment where there's initially no dialogue, Peter's narration acts like a eulogy in a way, with him mentioning on how the last 7 years of Nick Fury's life had been spent building and saving refugees, rather than just moving from one fight to the other. But then while they're here having this moment of silence pretty much, Deadpool comes strolling along, welcoming everybody to Europe and just being as cheerful as ever, and even to the extent of cracking a few jokes here and there. But then when Honey Badger turns around and talks to him, she's kind of like, hey yo, chill. Which then kind of has Deadpool like, what's the problem? Somebody die? To where then she's kind of like, yeah. And that's how Deadpool finds out that Nick Fury's dead. And with how this is done, it kind of pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. Because regardless of Nick Fury having questionable actions in the past, his motivations have been in the right place. And when they lay him to rest here, it's one of those things that's unspoken but understood. But then it's from here where we jump over to Paris, where Apocalypse has assembled some of the greatest minds that are left on Earth to assist him in reviving the Unmaker, and doing so by placing them under the mind control of Zebediah Killgrave. And it's here where we find Apocalypse talking to the newest member of his staff, Tony Stark, and more or less just confirming with him that the objective at hand is doable with what they have, which at this point includes bypassing the EMP signal so that Apocalypse can revive the Unmaker. And in response to this, mind-controlled Tony, who is still a genius, he lets Apocalypse know that he has to see it. He needs to see the Unmaker, he needs to see the source of the EMP that's shut down the globe, like he needs to get down there. So Apocalypse is like, alright, bet, we're taking a field trip. And he lets them know that he'll teleport everybody down and protect them so that the scientists can peep it out and see what they can do. But Zebediah Killgrave, he looks at Apocalypse and he tells him like, hey, I really don't like going down there. And right then Apocalypse, he just gives Killgrave this look, and there's no dialogue, he just gives him this look. But if there was dialogue, Apocalypse would probably be like, boy, don't make me take off my belt. I will thrash you with the purity of oblivion. Either you step through this portal, or your backside will meet my belt and be broken. Because once again, this is more of your classic Apocalypse we're dealing with here. But needless to say, the next thing we see is Killgrave down there with Apocalypse and everybody else. Because that look alone let him know that this trip wasn't optional. But at this point, once again, 7 years into the future, and 7 years since the Unmaker has been put into this deep sleep. During this time, Apocalypse, he's examined the Unmaker as far as every part of its sleeping mind. He's studied the Unmaker, so he knows what he needs to do on his part in order to inhabit it and take control of a power beyond that of a celestial or even a god. And really, like with Apocalypse getting this type of upgrade, like if he pulls this off, it's over. But also, as they make their way down here, he tells them to not touch Strange because even though he's dead and his body's decayed, which there in itself are two good reasons why not to touch him, but even with this being the case, his magical wards are still in place. So with us hearing that, the warning is out there, but we'll see how well that goes. With them all coming down here, what it pretty much boils down to is that Apocalypse needs 1 hour of no EMP signal so he can revive the Unmaker and do what he needs to do. And with Tony and the others making the assessment that there's a neuron star on the other side of this doorway that's giving off an EMP signal, they've got to figure out how to contain the power of that star for 1 hour, which from there sets the clock for the heroes as far as how long they have before this is absolutely over, with that being however long it takes for these guys to come up with a solution and set it into play, plus the 1 hour that Apocalypse needs once they've done their part. So from here, the clock is really ticking. But for the heroes, they also got the dilemma of May and Danny being there with them since they snuck aboard the helicarrier, and it's not really an ideal situation to where they can just turn around and take the kids back. And so when Peter says that the kids can't go, it quickly turns into an everybody against Peter situation, starting with Deadpool, who lets Peter know, like, with great responsibility, it'd be pretty irresponsible to leave your kids at a refugee camp so they could ride back to Wakanda with Storm when she heads back. But at this point, Storm has changed her mind and she's decided from here she's going straight to Apocalypse with everyone else because they need all the help they can get. And then it's here where Dr. Doom chimes in and he lets Peter know, like, if May didn't say something earlier when her spider sense went off because of the Ghost Raiders, then they probably would have lost more people in addition to Nick Fury, to where then Jessica Jones, the parent of the other child, is like, you know what, they are safer with us. And once that's said, Peter's lost, the kids are coming, let's go. And so from here, Deadpool, he goes back into his tour guide, welcome to Europe mode, and he takes everyone to the tour bus that he's commandeered, and he's appropriately named the Deadmobile, which just shouts inspiration as far as where they're going right now. But also with this happening, Pepper, she asks Wade, like, why are you our tour guide? And he lets her know that he's been beaten, stabbed, and shot in every part of this continent, which right away make him an expert on where not to go, which makes a lot of sense. But the only catch is that this bus doesn't have headlights for obvious reasons, and because of that, they're only able to travel during the daytime. So when night falls, they make a stop a good distance from any busy roads, but when they stop, Honey Badger picks up a scent, a very faint scent that initially she can't identify, but she can tell that this person is staying downwind in an attempt to keep their scent from getting picked up. So as a result, Honey Badger, Lord Kenny, and Blade, they go to check it out. And as they move away from the group and investigate, I can't help but to think of this whole thing giving me Predator vibes. Like, how crazy would it be to play the Predator game and be Blade or one of the Wolverines? Which reminds me, man, I can't wait for that Wolverine game. Like, I really hope that game is a Canadian Red Dead Redemption 2 with claws. Like, I just want to be Logan in the woods, killing bears and crafting clothes for hours. Fingers crossed we'll get that. We'll see. But while they're out here, Laura spots something in the trees, and seconds later, she's impaled by this thing. And for a little while, the three of them out here alone, like, they're still trying to figure out what they're up against. And I mean, like, us as the reader, we know, like, we've been waiting for this. But these guys, as of this time, they have no idea. But also with all this commotion going on, back at the camp, they just hear screaming from not too far away. And what's crazy is, like, little May, Peter's daughter, she tries to calm down Danny, telling her there's nothing to worry about because her spider sense isn't going off. But as soon as May says this, out from the dark shadows comes this Carnage Venom hybrid carrying Honey Badger like she's just on a meat hook. And also I gotta mention, like, for Honey Badger, prior to this, she had nanites in her system, which before would allow her to endure crazy damage without feeling pain. But since the blackout from 7 years ago, when every form of technology stopped working, her nanites stopped working as well. So for Honey Badger, she's feeling all of this. But with this Venom Carnage hybrid showing up here, the next thing he does is go for Moon Girl. But Devil Dinosaur jumps in the way, saving her life, to where then he just bites this Venom Carnage monstrosity and just tosses him, which at the same time also frees Honey Badger, who had just been dangling in excruciating pain this whole time. But even still, she took it like a G. But with time, she'll be alright because the healing factor is still there, and with looking on the bright side, she sees her body as half full rather than half empty, which is a remark that Deadpool can very much appreciate. But then when Peter starts shooting webs and they make the thwap sound instead of thwip, Deadpool's like, wait a minute, we're not gonna not talk about this. And really, who knows if it's thwap or thwop, because depending on how you look at it, I can just imagine Deadpool just like get a mop in a bucket for that TH wop and literally just going into a music video montage in this moment. But of course, Peter's like, hey man, come on, just don't be you right now. because they kind of need all hands on deck at the moment. But at the same time, like when they realize what they're dealing with here, which essentially is two symbiotes bonded with a host who at this moment they may not know who it is, though we've known for some time, but they treat the situation as such, with first handling the symbiotes, with Pepper using her Iron Woman suit to blast them with fire, separating the symbiotes from their host. Once the symbiotes are handled, they'll get to the host after that. And so when Pepper separates the two symbiotes with her fire, Storm then tells Sue to protect everyone with her shields, to where from there she just blasts Venom and Carnage to keep them from just jumping right back onto their host. But when this happens, it's here where they finally find that it's Miles, and when they see this, Peter rushes in to let Miles know that it's gonna be okay. But in response, Miles tells Peter that it's not gonna be okay, like not at all, because he knows the plan that Apocalypse has set in place to end the world as they know it. And from the time that Miles has been sent to come out here and go after these guys, there's really no telling how far along that plan is at this point. But much like what we'd seen with Quicksilver when he was freed from the influence of Kilgrave, Miles is now free as well, and it's here where he gives them the update as far as what exactly it is that Apocalypse plans to do. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so we can go to Patreon.
Let's check out this. So I can knock out Miles Morales.
Hey Wiz, you know what time it is? Thanks to our sponsor, it's Miller time. You too can chill out with a delicious Miller Lite. Nothing simpler than taking a break from the internet to share some suds with your buds.
Frankly, it sounds like a good time to debate this matchup, or if we, get the victor right. When there's a great tasting 96-calorie Miller Lite, friends should always come before followers.
Here's to the original light beer, the original social media. It's Miller time.
Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per ounce. Throughout the Earths of Marvel and DC Comics, there are hundreds, no thousands of superheroes saving the day. But what if I told you there were even more across the multiverse?
Oh great, as if we don't have enough to keep track of already.
Miles Morales, the Spider-Man of Marvel's Earth number 1610.
And Static, the electric genius from DC's Dakotaverse. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. At first glance, the world of Earth 1610 isn't so different from our own. But look closer and you'll find Coca-Soda instead of Coca-Cola, PDNY officers instead of NYPD.
And a hamburger and fries can cost 30,000 goddamn dollars!
But perhaps the greatest difference in this so-called Ultimate Universe was that Peter Parker, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, was dead.
Enter Miles Morales. He was your typical kid from Brooklyn and didn't have much to worry about except his overbearing mom and dad. Hey kid, appreciate your folks while you have them. You never know when they're gonna pull a surprise Uncle Ben.
Well, Miles spent most of his time with his more laid-back Uncle Aaron, who turned out to be a secret supercriminal.
Totally relatable. Anyway, during one of his heists into a secret lab, Aaron accidentally scooped up a spider. The next time Miles visited, the spider got loose and, you know what happens.
Miles, let's go.
This spider carried the genetic enhancing Oz formula, yet another attempt to recreate Captain America's infamous super soldier serum. It had previously transformed Peter Parker into the first Spider-Man.
Wait a minute, who came up with the idea to store the super serum in a freaking spider?
Scientists can be weird sometimes.
Maybe next time put it in something that can't walk away. It's got 8 legs, that's like 4 times more walking power.
Sure. Either way, with his new powers, Miles donned red and black to become the ultimate Spider-Man.
As the newest spider lad on the block, he does whatever a spider can. He's super strong, super fast, and has the overpowered super radar, the Spider Sense.
After meeting Peter's Aunt May, Miles took up the classic web shooters, complete with multiple types of long to short range webbing.
Yet another tool that would be perfect for snagging a beer from the fridge without leaving the couch.
Boomstick, he was a teenager.
Different universe, different drinking laws, right? And also, like Peter, he can stick to walls. You know, spider style.
Yes, like some spiders, Miles can control his body's interatomic attraction, essentially sticking to walls like a magnet. However, unlike Peter, this subatomic electron manipulation gave Miles a few extra moves of his own.
Yeah, the kid's got electric powers. He can zap people with a quick touch, fire off massive explosions, and even turn invisible. Wait, what's that got to do with shocking people?
This Venom Sting can even take out the Ultimate Universe's Electro, a being literally made of electricity. But Miles didn't just shock him, he disrupted Electro's own charge. Similar to a miswiring sending too much electricity in one direction and shorting out your computer when somebody forgot to plug it into the surge protector.
Wiz, you know I don't believe in protection for anything. It's going in raw.
Anyway, as the new Spider-Man, Miles obviously had a lot to live up to. After his Uncle Aaron died in front of him,
Ha! Told you somebody would pull a Ben!
Miles pushed past the heartache. He persisted, living up to Peter's ideals, and eventually stepped out of his shadow to be Spider-Man in a way only he could.
Oh yeah, what's up, Danger? He can blast apart a building-sized monster and survived being slammed around by the giant Cassie Lang. That's Ant-Man's daughter.
He's smart enough to hack military drones and quick enough to destroy an alien device in a microsecond. Essentially, he needed to open and close a portal in an impossibly short time frame to prevent an alien force from invading. It's a long story.
Point is, he's super fast. With his spider sense, he can react to things before they even happen. He's super tough, too. He even survived being caught in this giant super collider exploding.
Measuring the size of this hole using real-world maps of New York and solving for fragmentation, we know this explosion must have been equivalent to about 222 tons of TNT.
Sure, that's not technically canon to the comics, but guys, main series Spider-Man has done way crazier things. I mean, he has the same powers, and Miles has even beat the crap out of him. Classic Pete can bench press 130 tons, use his spider sense to dodge beams of light, and ripped apart Doc Ock's robo-arms, which once survived a 2-kiloton nuclear explosion. So I'd say the Super Collider feat checks out.
Unfortunately, Miles' electric powers can tire him out, and his spider sense does not protect him automatically, serving more as an alarm or proximity sensor.
But the youngins proved himself to be the best successor a Spider-Man could ever want, and more. He even got pulled into the main Marvel timeline when they blew up the Ultimate Universe. Miles Morales is truly one of the greats.
Don't wash the mouth, wash the hands.
Despite growing up in the most crime-filled neighborhood of Dakota City, Virgil Hawkins was a pretty chill guy.
He spent his time playing D&D, reading comics, you know, typical nerd stuff. But he had one major problem, the classic sitcom bully. No teenage story is complete without it.
During school, he was frequently harassed by local gang leader Francis Stone. Virgil's only refuge was one of his few friends, Larry Wade.
Larry convinced Virgil there was only one way to get rid of Francis for good. Join his own gang and pack some heat. Things got, well, pretty intense, and Virgil wasn't having any of it. It was time to bail like DC Comics on their cinematic universe.
But the damage was already done. The police arrived and let loose a massive canister of what seemed to be tear gas, but wasn't.
Yeah, this grape-looking mist was actually some experimental shit. It was supposed to tag each gang member so the cops could track them down later. But it was actually laced with radioactive quantum juice, which killed almost everybody. I hate it when that happens.
Luckily, Virgil was one of the few who survived, but the quantum juice still had an effect.
You could say he was shocked to find out what it did.
Yes, he began to develop electromagnetic powers. Before this, Virgil always felt out of his league, but now he was in a league of his own and became the superhero Static.
I put a shock to your system.
Hell yeah! With these new powers, the guy was unstoppable. He could blow shit up with electric bolts quick as lightning, make explosion balls called Nova Bombs, and taser people with punches to the face.
Right, but he's not just good at shocking people. Static can alter the electron attraction of any object or surface. He can erect extremely durable electromagnetic force fields that block most attacks. He can even move metal around like a hip young Magneto.
And slip metal under his feet to take to the sky. His favorite ride is the Static Saucer, a giant frisbee that doubles as a shield and buzzsaw. Think about it. Don't you wish your car could literally cut through traffic?
Obviously, turning superhuman overnight caught Virgil a bit off guard, But after a few speed bumps, he became a well-regarded superhero throughout the city of Dakota, even teaming up with fellow heroes like Icon and Rocket.
Icon and Rocket? Come on, where's Batman and Wonder Woman?
Oh, I should mention that while Static is part of the DC universe, he did not start there. See, Static was originally created by Milestone Comics, which eventually merged with DC. Their characters, including Static, existed in an alternate timeline known as the Dakotaverse. Then a guy named Dharma gained cosmic power and accidentally blew everything up, sending Static into the main DC timeline. It's really not too complicated.
Uh-huh.
I've actually been working on a device to peer into alternate timelines, but unfortunately it still needs...
Button! Well now, old chap, what were we discussing but a moment ago?
Oh, shite, don't you know? Let's figure out who got wins a fatality kerfuffle.
Oh yes, I'm mad as hops. Let's begin, my fellow Ultra Cupidarian.
I regret everything.
Oh, I'll do it again!
No! I'm sure that's fine.
Well, no matter the universe, Static was always one-upping himself. He learned how to see ultraviolet light and how to make people glow. Wait, what's that got to do with shocking people?
That would be his ability to detect bioelectric auras. Static can also create power-draining plasma coils, disrupt the electrical impulses of others, and empower or heal himself by draining energy from outside sources.
He can literally reattach his severed arm with shock power. I'm not even joking! Look at this! Since when could electricity do that?
Clearly, Static has a lot of power at his beck and call.
He can survive building-sized kabooms, lift hundreds of tons, and once turned this huge chunk of ice into slush in just a couple seconds.
Based on the size of the ice and the required change in temperature for such a feat, Static must have output energy equal to 180 tons of TNT.
He's quick enough to intercept lasers confirmed to be beams of actual light, which is pretty darn fast.
And in the cartoon, he actually shoved some quantum juice in some lockers and launched them out of orbit. These are typical school lockers, which can weigh up to 30 pounds each.
And fit approximately one nerd.
To throw 3 of these into space, they need to be moving nearly 3,000 times faster than sound, requiring a throwing force equal to 4 kilotons of TNT.
Damn! Okay, sure, that's not canon to the comics, but his electromagnetism could play tug-of-war with Superboy's telekinesis, which can lift 4 million tons. I'm not sure Static can go that far, but if he's anywhere close, it's still higher than throwing some lockers around.
Though, despite Static's incredible power, insulators are his kryptonite, and he can run out of juice if he pushes himself too much.
But the guy's one of the coolest superheroes who rarely got his time to shine. Heck, he was good enough to join the Justice League. I think even Virgil himself was shocked to see how cool he really was.
Static shock!
Alright, the combatants are set, and we've run the data through all possibilities.
But first, all this talking has made me hungry for Blue Apron. Can healthy be delicious? Blue Apron is here to prove it can.
It's a new year, and everyone's reevaluating their lifestyles. So why not try to improve your eating habits?
It's okay if you don't know where to start. Blue Apron has you covered. You can make a plan just for you with their ever-changing mix of options.
Vegetarian, plant-forward, Mediterranean, diabetes-friendly, WW-approved, 500 calorie or less, whatever you're looking for, they've got it. And it'll be sent right to your door. Also, if you're concerned you won't know what to do once you have the ingredients, Blue Apron has that covered too.
Look, I know I'm not the best chef out there, but Blue Apron seriously helps me kill it in the kitchen.
Isn't that the truth? With all the work we do here at Death Battle, figuring out a cooking plan was always a chore. But not anymore.
So create a healthy mealtime routine that works for you in 2020.
Check out this week's menu and get $60 off when you visit blueapron.com/battle.
That's blueapron.com/battle.
Blue Apron, feed your soul.
But right now, it's time for a death battle!
Whoa! Watch where you're aiming. I got places to be tomorrow. For real? You attack me! Well, I got more than one electric psychopath to keep track of it. Whoa, 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 whoa! Forgive me, but can I be honest? I'm fully transparent. You ride on trash cans.
that? What's up with that?
I call that the soda touch. And I call this my taser punch. Wait, what? Keep thinking, keep thinking. Stop thinking, stop thinking.
Come on out, Spider Boy. Huh?
No more flying pizza trays.
Shoot, that was my ride. Okay, you've got surprises, but so do I.
What the Wow, not cool. You stupid. All I gotta do is... What?
Plasma coil. If you hadn't noticed, this electric biz is kind of my thing.
Aw, man.
That was tough.
KO!
Looks like we're kicking off this year with a bang. Poor Miles, though.
Honestly, I'm surprised how this turned out. At first glance, Miles appeared to have a good chance at victory.
He was definitely physically stronger than Static. He would have totally won an arm wrestling contest.
But Virgil's overwhelming electric power put him at a level above the young Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, overall Static's feats were way above Spidey's, even when we scaled Miles to classic Peter Parker's biggest feats. Static definitely had the oomph to take Miles out, but Miles had no easy way to get around his force field.
The variety of techniques at Static's disposal also rent many of Spider-Man's abilities moot.
Like how Spidey's invisibility didn't matter when Static could light him up like a Christmas tree, and his speed was so similar to what the Spider Sense could give Miles that the super radar wasn't that big of a help. Remember, just because he knew an attack was coming didn't always mean he could dodge it in time.
And, well, shockingly, Static only needed to hit him once. See, his electromagnetic manipulation gave him control over Miles' wall crawling and other abilities. As soon as he got a hold of Miles' bioelectric aura, it was basically all over.
But hey, Miles and all the other Spider-Men fight Electro all the time, and they have no problem dealing with him. Why was Static any different?
Simply put, every iteration of Electro pales in comparison. He has no feats of power that come even close to Static, and frankly, he's an idiot. This was a fascinating matchup, but... Oh no, not again!
Yay! Mr. Morales put up a jolly good show, and yet Mr. Hawkins had him outdone in breathtaking power, stalwart defense, and veritable versatility.
Oh, he was just miles ahead of him, don't you know?
The victor is Static.
I went with Miles, but you know, that's the writers. Their empirical data.
He is a spider pig. Spider pig, spider pig. Does whatever a spider pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, we can't. He's a pig. Look out, he is a spider pig. Spider pig, spider pig. Does whatever a spider pig does. Can